scope of warm on, had some visual on trace fire, and looks like some explosion. Take 1 and 2 then. Say it again.
All right, here we are in New York City for SOFREP.com's Inside the Team Rooms Special Forces. Got 3 generations here. Jack Murphy, editor-in-chief, Jim West, the legend, and Terry Schappert, television personality now, right?
Do not call me that.
Yeah,
no.
you are a television
Resident
personality.
knucklehead.
But it's been expressed to us that we have to start with a toast of some kind. Do you guys have an official toast?
To fallen comrades.
There you go. Cheers to us and those like us.
And I will just say thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
All right, so
I don't like to say service. You know why? I thought of this. It's nice when people say that, and it's always well meant. Like when people say thank you for your service. I always think service is what I get from like a waiter in a restaurant.
Like the guy at the post office.
Right. So I like to tell people, like when I see dudes like in uniform, I go, thanks for picking up the sword. Thanks for defending us.
Turning the handle on the meat grinder.
Thanks for turning. Oh, I never thought of that one. Not that I'm disparaging your comment.
okay, so but we want to know what you were like before you joined.
boy.
Do we call it joining the service? We call it joining the service.
Joined it, yeah.
I got to start with Jim. Where were you? Because I know you were doing martial arts. What were you doing before you joined the service?
Well, other than
The Army.
learning how to fight, I was fighting. I come from, I was born in Richmond, Virginia, and then raised in Millersville, Georgia. My brothers and cousins who are also special ops guys before me, 5 or 6 years before me, older, and they used to abuse me a lot as a child and as an adult. And we had a dirt road going to the house, so we didn't have TV, didn't have toys, so we were learning how to booby trap,
That's funny.
And
So you were
blow
dead-falling
things up.
squirrels as a kid is what you're saying.
Absolutely, yeah. So we could do all the traps and snares and all that crap around about the age of 5.
Yeah.
And so when I hit 17 years old, I was in school, going to a Catholic military academy, and I turned 17 and Vietnam was raging, or actually, it was a little bit later than the Tet Offensive, but my brothers were there, and I felt the urge to join up and become part of the family because I didn't want to sit around later in life. The way I thought about it, sitting in a bar with my older brothers telling war stories, and I didn't have one to tell, right?
Yeah.
So I dropped out of school, joined the Army, and I wanted to go to Special Forces.
You knew that though when you joined the Army, you were going to be a special forces guy.
I did. I just
Yeah,
didn't know all the
yeah.
steps to get there.
Got
Right?
it.
Well, you're robbing my questions already.
So-
You're robbing my questions.
I'm also a TV personality,
So
I'm
I'm
going to
stuck
moderate
between a
this.
TV personality. So anyway, I couldn't help myself, but I joined because I didn't have a high school diploma. I was like, what the heck, right? So it wasn't easy for me. So I found myself, I spent 3 years, I was in the 82nd Airborne, sitting there waking up every day. First 504, right? That was
3005. 3005.
Trying to get to Vietnam, sitting around every day waiting for the call up. But a long story short, after about 3 years, I decided to get out. And that's when I really took up fighting as a pro. I got out, but I came back in and went to Special Forces because I had to get my education, and I squared all that away, right?
Right on.
Now that's something that's different.
That's
you
cool.
were in college,
Yeah.
and you went to college after.
After, yeah.
So before we get to, you were a microbiology major, right?
I was a genetics
Smart kid.
Smart. I wasn't wicked smart.
So you can purify water when you're out in the jungle?
Yeah,
and shit?
right. Yeah. So
Now is that a generational thing? Because a lot of the World War II stories were I dropped out of high school to fight the Nazis, that kind of thing. That was my grandfather.
yeah, for me, I
I
was kind of
think
like
it
a
is.
college. I was sort of a college. I did real well in college. I'm not going to say I was a stoner. I must say I'm not. And I was actually I was a buddy's apartment in my junior year. Actually, before I switched to anthropology, I was a bio guy, and he had I can't remember. I was trying to look this up the other day. He had some books. He was a ROTC guy, and he was kind of he had books on Mac v. Sog, and he had books on the Green Berets of Vietnam. And so I borrowed some of them. I was like, hey man, let me take a look at that. And he was like, yeah, whatever. I took them home, read them cover to cover. Pretty much, so compelling. And there was one picture. There was one picture in there. I want to find it again. It was a picture of some guys. I think it was Mac V guys, but it was an SF thing. They're patrolling through the jungle, and it was a black and white photo. And if you look at it, you can't see. All of a sudden, you start seeing guys revealed in the back in like a Ranger file. And there's one guy in front. And he's got like a little golf pencil which, by the way, I never not have in my kit, because golf pencils, they work perfectly. They never go dry. They never run. You can sharpen them with a knife. And he was on a little notebook, and he was kind of had this grin on his face. He was doing some kind of recon. And something about that dude's face, I was like, I want to be like that guy. So I read those books, and I was like, that was it. I finished college. I got my degree. Turned away from grad school. I was going to go to Duke, actually, for primates and stuff like that. I ended up
You're sitting right next to him.
By the way, I was going to say, I ended up learning more about primates going to the Army than I bet. But this is classic. Well played, sir. So, yeah, I enlisted, and I graduated in June, whatever it was, spring of 88. Lived with my brother for a few months up in Vermont, and I just enlisted. Didn't even tell my parents I was going to do it.
Okay, man.
Yeah, next thing you know, I'm like, hey, man, I'm in the Army. So, like, and I was an 82nd guy, too. I went to, jump school, and
I did it for $55.
I can't remember what I made, but I remember that, at that point, they were still issuing checks. And so, and it was good. I went to Ranger school actually quicker than the guys I went to basic with who went to Ranger Battalion.
They're paying us in cash.
You got cash. You have like the movie thing where like guys come up and go, hey, West, money, move out, and then you go downtown and blow it in a day.
I can tell you about that too.
But I went to the Gulf War at the 82nd, came back, went to select. That's all I wanted to do was be an SF guy. But I got lucky. I went to Ranger school. I was in a scout platoon, Gulf War, came back. Instead of having fun on a holiday, I was rucksacking, and then I went to selection, passed that.
And cheers to you.
And then I went to the Q course, and then this.
All right, so dropped out of high school, got an education at some point, was in college.
Went to college, finished it.
College after?
After the military, yeah.
Now, we have a rarity here. 2 guys from New York. What were you doing before you joined the Army?
Before I joined...
You don't seem like the neighborhood ruffian type.
No.
No, I wasn't quite Dennis the Menace. I had a job working actually as a groundskeeper on a golf course. So I was weed whacking and like mowing greens. I was 19 years old.
So he was Bill Murray and Caddyshack.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Chinch Bogan.
Did you kill all the golfers?
Bugs Bunny.
Chinch Bogan, Centramelia.
Yeah. It was exactly that. So yeah, nothing particularly spectacular. I grew up. I was born in Sleepy Hollow, New York, and I lived there until I was like 14. And then I went to high school in North Salem, New York.
Right up the way.
So joining the military was always like an ambition for me. It was something I wanted to do from like a very young age. And it's funny that you talk about the difference in generations. These 2 guys were in the Gulf War. One of my earliest memories is actually watching the Gulf War on CNN. I'm 31 now. At the time, I was probably like 6 or 7.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Yeah,
I watched.
differently.
You know that scene they played over and over and over again. It's like it's the green tint of night vision, and there's like a saw gunner bounding up to the concertina wire, and there's like tracers flying. It's like as a kid, especially, you don't know what the hell's going on over there, but it's like there's a war going on, and I'm missing it. I'm here to what the hell. So that's actually one of my earliest memories, and.
It's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I always wanted to join the military.
But did you know you were going to go? Because these 2 guys said that SF was always the goal. Was it always the goal for you?
The goal for me was special operations. It was just a matter of figuring out where I wanted to go. And when I came in at 19, I went into Ranger Battalion. And actually what motivated me to join Special Forces was that when I went to, when you're in Ranger Regiment, you have to go to Ranger School. If you ever want to hold any kind of leadership position at all, you're going to have to go to Ranger School. So I got sent to Ranger School, and one of my buddies in Ranger School was a 1st Special Forces Group guy based over in Okinawa. And this dude was just so on top of it, like technically and tactically proficient. Like that was somebody that I looked to. He was Filipino-American, worked in the Philippines, did all kinds of cool stuff, spoke the language. And I was like, and he was just so on top of what he was doing, and he helped me out. I probably wouldn't have passed the school without him because I got sent so soon, I didn't know what I was doing in Ranger School. And this guy was all over, and I was like, that's the kind of guy I want to be.